We'd like to read some of the names. We're going to start with those that are in memory. First of all, Heather Jennings, in memory of Kathy, Sean, and Misty Jennings. Paul and Joni Österreicher, in memory of all our family in heaven. Frida Tarzia, in memory of Patrick Tarzia. Dr. Sandra Joy Gray, in memory of Janet Kellogg Nelson, Jeremy Lineberry, Elizabeth Leilani, Beth Merritt, and Wes Myers. Carolyn and Joe Toth, in memory of Lucy Pridemore, Sandra Toth, Elsie Holman, Warren Quick, and Viola Sibbles. Tom and Pam Gay, in memory of John W. Kettis. Vicki Ritchie, in memory of my darling Gary. Astrid Costco, in memory of Michelle Costco. Sheila and Lanny Horton, in memory of Sheila's mother and Lanny's parents. Helen Danielson, in memory of Ragna and Tom Danielson.
Brenda Hodges, in memory of Walter and Margaret Hodges. Louise Lehos, in memory of James Lehos. Robert and Alice Williams, in memory of Roscoe and Edith Schertz, Helen Carpenter, and Ernest Williams. Joyce McConnell, in memory of H. James and Stephen D. McConnell. Dorothy and Tony Slaga, in memory of Athie and Lucille Trout, Anthony and Louise Slaga, and Fred Trout. Joyce Harris, in memory of Jean Blickendorfer. Pat Alice, in memory of Barry Alice and Helen Colburn. Cleansing Waters, in memory of Mrs. Helen Bowman. Karen Angel, in memory of Mike Angel, Ari Lou Rodas, Don Rodas, and Mark Israel. Leah Selecki, in memory of Judith Crobeth, Emil Selecki, and Ethel Selecki.
Joyce Height, in memory of Edward Height. Jane Fitzgerald, in memory of John and Moselle Yeaman. Cindy Marks, in memory of Arnold Hammerberg. Susan Amato, in memory of Geneva and Leo Driscoll. Marty Gopert, in memory of Tex Gopert. Arlene and Bo Bogert, in memory of Charles Tex Gopert. Ellen Bottomer and Ted Simpson. Cindy and John Amato, in memory of Bill Vogan. Reverend Gary and Ann Blanchard, in memory of Teresa Ounchman, Lawrence Blanchard, and Delore Mike Bergeron. Dick and Carol Jenkins, in memory of Ray E. Holbrook, Andrew M. Love, Robert H. Jenkins Sr., and Louise M. Jenkins. Lisa Wheeler, in memory of my precious mother, Helen Colobus.
Anna Marie Payne, in memory of Bergliot and Sig Hansen. Jamie and Linda Amato, in memory of their grandparents. Anne Eisel, in memory of Karen Marie Gardner and Arthur Edward Eisel. Wade and Vicki Friedline, in memory of William H. Friedline. Chris and Rich White, in memory of Edna, Edson, and David White. Dorothy Crowder, in memory of Berth Crowder, Elsie, Otis, and Louis Smith, and Mabel and Cecil Crowder. Anne Kaminsky, in memory of Walter Kaminsky. Arlene Lofdahl, in memory of Eugene Lofdahl. Roger and Susan Amato, in memory of Anne and Victor Amato, Geneva and Leo Driscoll, and Elizabeth and Mary Driscoll. Susan Carroll, in memory of Michelle Costco.
Carolyn Wilson, in memory of Irma Peters. Betty Reedy, in memory of Elmer Reedy, Jim Bailey, Ronnie Reedy, Larry Reedy, Frank Reedy, and Winfred Henry. Don and Dana Pano, in memory of Jerry Pano. Loretta and Fred Green, in memory of William Layton. Harry and Joan Brown, in memory of Maureen Grove, Nancy Mutter, and Kyle Mutter. Sanford Martin, in memory of Sandy Martin. Juanita Florio, in memory of Anita Florio, John Florio, and Nyla Lavoie. George and Dorothy Mackenzie, in memory of Veronica Elizabeth Hawkins, Cecil H. Hawkins, Dustin G. Mackenzie, George Francis Mackenzie, Sr., Marie Mackenzie, Anna Whalen, and Richard Jackson Davis. Joan and Julie Weimer, in memory of Louise Posey and James Weimer. Frances Payne, in memory of her son, Chris Jennis, and her husband, Donald Payne.
Arthur Bullock, in memory of Philip S. Bullock and Anna C. Benny. Virginia Wright, in memory of Harold Wright. Kristen Johnson, in memory of loved ones Mickey and Jack. Kelly Richardson, in memory of Michelle Costco. Gail Ritchie, in memory of C.L. Boots Ritchie, Jeffrey Ritchie, and Glenn Ritchie. Rose Hernandez, in memory of Segundo and Carmen Hernandez, Rafael Hernandez, Carmen Lydia Hernandez, Sylvia E. Melendez, Antonio Melendez, Carmen Elizabeth Garcia, Isabeau Mau Hernandez, and David Butler. Jerry Schoenfeld, in memory of Brian Papp, Robert Taylor, Kevin Callahan, Pat Jordan, Heidi Moore Cincino, Thomas Winkler, Mr. Gerald Settle, Mr. and Mrs. Edmund Burke, Mr. and Mrs. James Bennett, and Lori Ellen Stoll. Dan and Evelyn Astudo, in memory of Marie Astudo and Jean Balkus. Pamela Leba, in memory of William Pete Turney.
Gerald Ryan, in memory of Shirley Ryan. Antoinette Murphy, in memory of James W. Murphy. Elizabeth Shaw, in memory of Dennis C. Shaw. Robin DeLuca, in memory of her husband, Don DeLuca and Karen Poland. Gladys Olson, in memory of her son-in-law, Donnie DeLuca. Dwayne and Pauline Everett, in memory of her father, Harold Merkel, and her mother, Jean Merkel. Dale and Thomas Walsh, in memory of Arthur L. Walsh, Olga Walsh, and Thomas F. Walsh. Amy and Sean Furr, in memory of Benita Furr, Logan McKiernan, Verlin Allman, Sr., and T.J. Rath. Maria Brewer, in memory of Jean Larson. Steve and Judy Ware, in memory of Bethany Nicole Ware.
George and Mary Ashley, in memory of George's father, Norman G. Ashley, his mother, Ruth V. Ashley, and Mary's father, John Boros. Karen Snuffer, in memory of Kevin Snuffer, Anthony Capano, Louis Capano, and Donald Taylor. Joyce and Jack Knapp, in memory of Robert Conrad. Cheryl and Ken Reynolds, in memory of Rodna and Thomas Danielson, Donald and Betty Reynolds, and Grandma Eleanor. Liz and Arvid Danielson, in memory of Liz's mom Eleanor, her brother Reverend Arnold Hammerberg, Rodna and Tom Danielson, Tanta Lisa and Uncle Andy, Uncle Sig, and Tanta Nani. Madonna Padilla, in memory of Myrna Madonna Mary. Kathy and Joe Hurrick, in memory of Peter and Teresa Hurrick, Arlene O'Connor, and Pearl Ewis. Andrea Somerville, in memory of Everett and Louise Gardner, and Burton and Nancy Coolidge. Bucky and Wanda Dawson and family, in memory of their parents, Reverend and Mrs. C.M. McLaughlin and Mr. C.C. Dawson. Holly Carroll, in memory of Stephen Carroll.